Now on Fox 13 News at 9, a star on one of TV's most beloved sitcoms has died. What we're learning about the death of Matthew Perry tonight.
ESPN College Game Day dishing out plenty of excitement for fans this morning. How it served as a great lead-up to the Utes Pac-12 showdown with the Ducks.
Coming up, how one man is using his skills as a mechanic to help families in need on Christmas.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
And thanks so much for joining us tonight after Game 2 of the World Series. We appreciate you staying here with us. I'm Amy Nay. Our top story tonight, some sad news in the entertainment industry. Actor Matthew Perry from Friends has died at the age of 54. Law enforcement has confirmed to Scripps News that Perry was found dead at a home in the Los Angeles area in what appears to be a drowning. Perry, of course, is well known for playing the beloved character Chandler, being in the 90s sitcom Friends that has since seen a resurgence. In the past, Perry has opened up about struggling with addiction, and he has been recognized for his advocacy helping others on their journeys to sobriety. We'll keep you updated on this developing story as soon as we learn more. Our other top story tonight, we've learned that the NTSB is investigating a plane crash in Emery County. The NTSB posting on social media that they are looking into a crash involving a Cessna T206H plane near Huntington. That took place yesterday. The plane went missing yesterday. The wreckage located today. We have a call into the Emery County Sheriff's Office. As we try to get more details on what happened, we'll pass along that information as we get it. Switching gears right now, we turn to Utah's Weather Authority, and we are continuing to see temperatures plummet this weekend. Look at that snow. This video captured in Cache Valley, specifically in Providence, Utah. How long will we see a stretch of winter-like weather like this? My goodness. We're going to check in with meteorologist Breck Bolton for all the answers. Breck.
Well, temperatures here throughout the state, at least throughout northern Utah, definitely feeling more winter-like. We've seen a few isolated areas, even with some snow showers, but for most of the state, we had partly cloudy skies across northern Utah, some showers across southeastern Utah. Right as we moved, getting into the evening hours, this is a video taken from Scott Taylor over the Great Salt Lake Hunter's Moon, as we do have a full moon here for tonight. Look at your high temperatures here throughout the state. We found afternoon highs about 15 degrees below average. That meant 40s here, all the way from Logan through Provo, down through Delta, central towards southern Utah. We did find 50s and 60s. Cold front was on the move towards eastern Utah, and near that front we did see some shower activity across southeastern Utah. Here are your current temperatures, already down into the 30s in Logan, currently upper 30s in Salt Lake City, 20s though in Park City. We're expecting to see a very chilly night here throughout the state, and in some areas under a freeze watch, specifically across southwestern Utah. Currently in St. George, you're at 55 degrees, but there are some areas through there that should get close to freezing. There's the position of the front. Again, near that front, we are seeing some showers southeastern Utah beginning to push through the state. They're starting to dissipate just a bit, but as we push further northward, potentially we could see some showers as we look at the Uinta Basin, Uinta Mountains here in the overnight hours. But take a look though, near the Great Salt Lake, under a cold northerly flow, we're generating some lake enhanced snow showers throughout Tooele County. That's an area that can see some snow in the overnight hours. But as we look for the rest of the weekend, what are we expecting temperature wise, and what's our threat of precipitation? We'll answer that coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Bragg. Utah football on the national stage today. The University of Utah going head-to-head with Oregon, and the Ducks at Rice-Eccles Stadium. It was broadcast right here on Fox 13. Despite their loss at home, there was plenty of excitement ahead of the Utes showdown with the Ducks as ESPN College Game Day made its first trip to Salt Lake City since 2016. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with a handful of Utes and even Ducks fans who took in all the experience had to offer.
While some of us were asleep early Saturday morning, others were wide awake, getting ready to see the 13th ranked Utah Utes take on the 8th ranked Oregon Ducks in a battle of two one-loss teams.
To be honest, just the experience. I like to root the Utah Utes on and all that type of stuff, you know? It's going to be a good experience.
Gavin Talev is a University of Utah freshman 100%. And waited his turn to get into the pit. To see ESPN College Game Day live and up close in President's Circle on the U of U campus. In a sea of red. Let's go Utah! Yeah! Ducks fans like Evan Jensen, who's from the Ogden area, could be found.
Just the opportunity, as a Ducks fan, everything's on the line. I mean, seeing this environment is just awesome.
Saturday marking the 5th time in Game Day's 30-year history, they've set up shop in Salt Lake City for a Utes game. Plenty of flags and signs could be seen scattered across the crowd as they tuned in to see the live 3-hour broadcast. While the intense Pac-12 rivalry was top of mind, it was also a special occasion for some fans.
It's my son Brooke. It's my son's 7th birthday, so I got him out here for his 7th birthday to come experience college game day. Let's go Utah! Let's go Utah!
Creighton Lowe and his family were joined by one of his best friends, Nick Smith, and his family.
I just think it's national coverage. It gets everybody hyped. We have a gritty team, and people want to show up.
We've had Pac-12 championship games against Oregon. There were some games here that were heartbreakers at Rice Eccles Stadium. So they're the big dogs in the Pac-12, and we've been able to take them down several times.
Both teams will be leaving the Pac-12 after this season, with the Utes heading to the Big 12 and the Ducks switching to the Big 10. So for Cody Erlai, his wife Bronte, and son Wyatt, who's nursing a broken foot, it was a chance to come see their team play Utah inside of Rice Eccles Stadium for the first time.
Special occasion. We're pretty excited. Last chance to do it.
Seeing the fans that show up, and whether you're an Oregon fan or a Utah fan, just making the trip out here and being able to all be together and have this experience. It's just fun.
Well, one fan telling me that this matchup was just that much more special, because unless these two teams meet in the Pac-12 championship, there's no telling when they'll see each other again on the gridiron after this season. At the U, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
4198! Act before it's too late!
The group Utah Youth Environmental Solutions staged an artistic demonstration for the Great Salt Lake today. They marched across the dry Great Salt Lake bed with a giant clock to demonstrate that time is ticking to protect the lake and highlight future consequences, they say, if legislators fail to take action.
The Great Salt Lake is in danger, and it drying up will affect everyone here in Salt Lake, and it will be dangerous, and it's a beautiful natural environment that we need to protect.
Well, the event also featured relevant and powerful art pieces created by the local community that further stress the urgency of the Great Salt Lake's predicament. A big turnout this morning in Salt Lake City's Liberty Park for the American Cancer Society's annual Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk. Breast cancer is one of the most common cancer types for women, according to the American Cancer Society. About 290,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year. Although having regular screening tests for breast cancer is important, they say mammograms do not find every breast cancer.
We all need to unite and work together. And these funds go towards a lot of programs as well with the American Cancer Society, helping a tremendous amount of people in Utah.
I used to think it was people in their 50s and 60s, but we were both in our 30s when we were diagnosed. And so just be aware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we need to talk more about women's health and what women go through, and so that it becomes more of a daily dialogue.
Now, doctors recommend that women between the ages of 45 and 54 now have a mammogram every year. Women 55 and older can switch to every other year. Turning now to a story that you can say is positively Utah. A man in Cache County putting his mechanic skills to use to gift a family's a special Christmas surprise. Fox 13 News reporter Lucy Nelson tells us how Jason Hansen took the driver's seat in a community effort to help others.
Jason Hansen works at Big O Tires in Providence, Utah, carrying on a line of work that runs deep in his family history.
My grandpa was a mechanic. He was a diesel mechanic. He had his own shop in Tremonton. My dad was a mechanic, and I just always wanted to be a mechanic.
A mechanic who community members like Cher Woods rely on not only to fix her car, but also as a friend.
Get over here.
Cher says the two go way back.
He took care of my little Neon for 20 years. My first car, she was almost brand new. And he did everything to keep her going, and then she finally bit it. That was it.
Jason offered to sell the car for parts and deliver a check to Cher with what he made.
He hands me the envelope and he said, read what's inside.
Oh my God! How did you do this?
I still cry when I tell the story, even after 3.5 years. It says that it was in my name and that it was the vehicle was given to me.
Cher is just one person to get a refurbished car in what has now become an annual project, the Cache County Christmas Car Project.
All the cars are old, like this is an 05 Acura.
Originally buying the cars himself to fix up and donate, and working into the wee hours of the morning.
I went in there like 4 o'clock in the morning one morning, and I was working on it, and my boss came in and he asked me what I was doing, and I told him, and he looked at the tires and he said, well, throw some tires on it. It needs tires.
Jason says his boss was the first person to offer help on the project, and now he has a whole community stepping up to get him what he needs to fix up used cars and make them as good as new.
Truthfully, I couldn't do this without them. They're the heroes. They're the real heroes, the people that send me money, the people that, all the parts store, every parts store in this valley is giving me parts of some sort.
Even other auto shops in the area.
And we're competitors, and I think that's the best thing, that's my favorite part, is how seeing people come together to make it happen.
Making sure Jason can get cars to families and people like Cher who need them.
I was so happy. I thought, you've done this for me? I still get emotional after all this time because I never ever expected him to do something so kind for me and so generous.
She loves her new ride so much, she's even given her a name.
He takes care of her now. He takes care of Tank when something goes wrong. This thing that he does is amazing. Nobody else in town does this as far as I know. Jason's the only guy. He works on his own time. He works here. I mean, and then he gives them to people who really need these vehicles.
In Cache County, Lucy Nelson, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Hansen's goal for this Christmas is to refurbish 4 cars. He said he is still selecting which families to give them to and has more than 100 submissions from people who know someone in need of a vehicle. There are several ways to donate to this project. We have those listed at an article on our website. Just look up the story there at fox13now.com. Still to come, we're going to take you to one of Utah's most historic haunts and inside one place the public never gets to see. Welcome back. So glad to have you here with us tonight. I'm Amy Nay. Turning to our 5 nights of frights and looking at some of the scariest, spookiest, most haunted places here in the Beehive State, we go now to Fort Douglas on the east side of Salt Lake, where the museum curator took Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph on a journey into places the public doesn't get to see.
Perched on the East Bench on the campus of the University of Utah is Fort Douglas.
You can just feel the history in a place like this.
And to this day, soldiers serve here.
Some of the longest single usage of a space over time. I mean, just the building we're in right now is 150 years. The post is 160 years.
The collections and artifacts are impressive. But it's the artifacts and buildings connection to the beyond that fascinates many.
There's a little bit of everything when it comes to the paranormal here.
The museum itself started life as an enlisted men's barracks, but over 150 years, it's gone through a lot.
Between our buildings, it's been like a post headquarters. It's been a mess hall. It's been meeting spaces. It's been a veterinary clinic. It's been a hospital for German POWs from World War I. I think if you dig deep enough, literally, in these places, I feel that you're going to find a ghost story or skeletons in the closet.
Many of the ghost stories start with the soldiers on post.
And saying, oh, I heard this or I saw this, I'm not going in there anymore, dude. And they'll tell me a story that sometimes they'll see like this guy out there from a different era, like Civil War, cavalry, and he'll be brushing a horse and then he'll just disappear.
Others involve employees at the museum.
She said she came over, saw the collections area where I was working open, kind of went down there to help me out. She said, I saw a man standing there where I just came from, kind of shadowed. A little bit, she said you could see through him, but he was there. There have been paranormal investigations where they've done some recordings, they said, this is really weird. We've done hundreds of investigations. We've never had foreign voices, but we keep getting like German words and phrases coming through. We have no clue. I was like, well, this was the German POW hospital from World War I. And then their jaws just drop. And we've had little kids too, like the kid in the window, the 606 pane windows, and he was short looking out. They captured a little kid staring out of the window over there. Just did inventory this morning. So.
Bo Burgess is the director of the museum. And he showed us a room the public doesn't get to see.
This one has a lot of ghost stories to here. Just watch your step coming up here. Here is one of those rooms where we decided, as part of preserving the history and the space, because our largest artifact is our building, to keep this one intact. We don't know exactly what this was used for originally, but you are looking at 1870s construction. These floors are from the 1870s.
Rumors of poker games and nefarious activity among enlisted soldiers have been passed down through the generations.
And then there's
And throughout the area, names, phrases, and drawings can be seen on the walls from those who came before.
Here, it's got a lot of stuff here, but this guy says here, I'm in Fort Douglas, Utah.
But there's one more place that might hold a piece of the paranormal.
But we do have a lot of stories of spirits in our cemetery as well.
The site of the cemetery is the original spot where Patrick Edward Connor, a general in the Civil War, first brought troops to Utah. He himself is even buried here.
It was Civil War era, and it's had burials in every major conflict since then. We have every branch of service represented in this cemetery. We have POWs from both World War I and World War II. And I think a cemetery really is a place to look at history as a whole.
Paranormal or not, history here is unmatched by pretty much anywhere else in the state.
There are people in here in Utah that look for something beyond in our belief system, in our view of the world, and our view of the afterlife.
But if you want to cross into the unknown, Fort Douglas might contain your one-way ticket. Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, something that might give you a little bit of a spook here is we're seeing some snow out there on the road, specifically as you turn towards Tooele County. This is UDOT traffic camera along State Road 36 heading to Stansbury Park. The snow falling. Yeah, lake effect snow impacting Tooele County. I'm not expecting to see much of an accumulation, but these snow showers definitely posing a little bit of a problem here traveling throughout that area. Let's take a look, looking at radar where specifically, as you can see, south of the Great Salt Lake, all that blue, that is snow. Again, we have a cold northerly flow. The lake water somewhat warm, of course, coming off last week with those warm temperatures. So as that air gets a little bit of lift with some residual moisture, thus with the production of a few snow bands coming off the lake, and that'll be the case here for the next couple of hours as we push through the early evening into the overnight hours there in Tooele County. Now, as we take a look for today and for the rest of the Wasatch Front, it's mainly clear, but it's been a cold day with the official high in Salt Lake City at 46 degrees, 14 degrees below average. Last week, we saw temperatures in the upper 70s. That's our record for this date. We're not heading back to the 70s, but we do have 60s in the forecast as we're going to be on a slow warming trend. Right now, though, it is chilly out there. 37 degrees in Salt Lake City. We have low 40s in Ogden, upper 30s in Provo. Yeah, many spots will be below freezing here for tonight. It's going to be a chilly start to your Sunday morning, as once again, tomorrow's afternoon highs also remain in the 40s. As we take a look at our future cast, looking at where temperature is going, I mentioned that slow warming trend where we've got upper 40s on Monday. Heading into Tuesday, though, yeah, looking at Halloween, we're going to be back into the mid 50s, and then we're returning into the 60s as we look towards Thursday and Friday, and back into the 70s in St. George. But it's going to be a cool day for St. George tomorrow, and especially here for overnight tonight as well as Sunday night through Monday morning. That's from the National Weather Service. We do have freeze warnings in place. In addition, condition throughout that area. Not only do you have the cold temperatures, but you have the winds. Some stronger canyon winds will be in effect here tonight through tomorrow morning, and then potentially tomorrow night as well. And we could see wind gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Now, we had a front move through. Front somewhat positioning itself there across southeastern Utah. That's an area potentially we could see some brief showers, but they're exiting the state. But some lingering residual moisture could produce some showers in Duchesne County, and of course that lake effect snow here throughout Tooele County. We're under this cool northerly flow, but we are beginning to build in high pressure. It's going to take a couple of days before we start feeling the warm air. We'll remain under this cool northerly flow, and wrapped up in that flow, we are still seeing those clouds that will be in place tonight through tomorrow morning. As I mentioned, in areas such as Price, Duchesne County, looking over the Uinta Basin, we could see some brief isolated snow showers come tomorrow morning. The lake effect snow definitely should taper off here in the overnight hours. Tomorrow it's clear, it's sunny statewide, but it will be cool, and of course we'll have to contend those winds across southwestern Utah, but we'll keep it clear heading into Monday as well. Now, taking a look at your overnight temperatures, look at this. 20s here along the Wasatch Front, teens as we go from Logan through Park City, low teens in Evanston, many spots through central Utah in the teens as well. So these are very chilly temperatures here overnight. And then for St. George, you're only getting up in the upper 50s come tomorrow. Expected lows, as you can see, or excuse me, highs tomorrow below average. Once again, we're still staying in the 40s here along the Wasatch Front, mid 40s through Price, low 50s in Moab. And as I mentioned, 40s in Cedar City under sunny conditions. Now for Halloween, it's looking better. 55 for the high. By 4 o'clock, we're in the low 50s along the Wasatch Front. For the trick-or-treat time, we'll be looking at clear conditions as temperatures will be in the 40s. Yeah, you probably need a little jacket on your kiddos as they head out. And for St. George, we're in the 60s by Tuesday, but you got 50s tomorrow with those winds. Winds die off. We're keeping it clear. We don't see any precipitation. We see mid-70s returning by the weekend. Northern Utah, 40s for the next couple of days, then back into the 50s. We push through the 60s. We see maybe a chance of a few isolated mountain showers Friday and Saturday. We'll hold on to the 60s, but Halloween looks to be clear in the mid 50s, but it's going to be cool here for the next couple of days. We'll be back right after the break.
Glad to have you with us tonight. Today was West Valley City's annual Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead celebration. Take a look. Dia de los Muertos, presented by West Valley Arts, one of the largest gatherings for the holiday here in Utah. This celebration included traditional Mexican dances, musical performances, and community altar exhibits. Since 2005, this one-day celebration of Mexican culture has become the organization's signature event.
2 days they are together with us, and to honor them, we put their pictures and their favorite foods and their favorite items, articles that reminds us of them and that they liked.
Now, a gallery installation featuring ofrendas, or offerings paying tributes to those who have passed away, is now open to the public until November 10th. Today, the Rose Park Coalition held their Wellness Without Borders Health Fair. This event served Utah refugees, newcomers, and immigrants. They had translators on site, and medical students also used live interpreter services on tablets. The Rose Park Clinic opened the doors of their food pantry and clothing closet to provide these things for the community. They also had some live music, prevention screenings, and vaccination resources on site.
You don't find this everywhere, especially the people that we serve. A lot of them want access to these things, but there are some social factors that are preventing them from getting this. So having this in their home, like for example, we have a wellness bus right there, so it's easy for them to just walk from their home and come and access it.
Research reveals community coalitions are effective tools for addressing complex health issues locally by bringing diverse stakeholders together to pool and maximize resources.
3 weeks after the Hamas massacre, Israel expands ground operations in Gaza. I'm Mike Tobin in southern Israel. Details coming up.
Plus, a community in Maine finally coming together to heal after the days-long manhunt for the mass shooter came to an end. We're going to show you more on this story when we come back. Turning now to the war in the Middle East, Israel's military says it's moving into the next phase of war as it expands its ground operation into Gaza. This comes as families of those held hostage express concerns about how the escalation could impact those negotiations. Fox News senior correspondent Mike Tobin has more.
Smoke once again rising over northern Gaza as Israel escalates its attacks on the Strip. Overnight, Israeli forces say they expanded ground operations in the region, striking dozens of terrorist targets and killing several Hamas operatives. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant held a situation assessment with Israel's chief of staff on Saturday. He says the country is moving into the next stage of war.
Last night, we have accomplished a phase in the war. We will continue to be strong and precise and hunt down every terrorist.
But an expanded ground offensive is raising concerns hostages taken by Hamas could be put into further danger. Families of those missing met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday, saying they support a swap of hostages for Palestinian prisoners.
We have to do a lot of pressure, probably on Qatar. This is the main goal that we need to do, and we need answers now. Not today, now.
Meanwhile, the main internet and cell towers in Gaza went down overnight, throwing the region into a widespread blackout. Relief groups say they lost contact with staff members in the Gaza Strip, sparking concerns about their ability to provide critical aid.
The humanitarian and human rights consequences will be devastating and long-lasting. Thousands have already died, many of them children.
As fighting intensifies, Israel says nearly 230 people are held hostage in the Gaza Strip. In southern Israel, Mike Tobin, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Turning now to national news. In the aftermath of that horrific mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine earlier this week, we have learned that the body of the shooter, Robert Card, has since been found inside a box trailer. Officials announced late Friday that Card had died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. As of Friday, all 18 of the people killed have now been identified. Now that the threat of the shooter still being in the community is gone, today was the first full day the community could come out and grieve. Scripps News national correspondent Vanessa Misiadina is in Lewiston, where a vigil for the 18 victims took place tonight.
You know, it's a hardworking town. You know, it's a lot of great people. Like any community, Lewiston didn't need this.
On the first morning that the shelter-in-place order was lifted, Randy Karen went to one of the sites where members of his community were gunned down Wednesday, including his high school friend.
Ron Warren, friend of mine, Ron Warren. We went to high school together. It's been a while since I've seen him, but, you know, it's tragic. Great guy. Anybody's going to make you laugh, it's going to be that guy.
It's going to be a long process to get over this.
Robert McCarthy is a city councilor and has lived all his life in Lewiston. The mass shooting that killed 18 people in the city that he loves so deeply has left himself and his constituents with a shattered sense of security.
You know, Maine is the safest state in the nation. We were just named that on Monday, and we average 22 murders a year, and we've had 18 in the course of half an hour.
Making this tragedy sting even more, the shelter-in-place order that kept grieving neighbors apart from one another. 2 days that you could have been together and holding each other were taken away.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's probably the biggest part. And now it's tough to reach out to some of these families because you don't want to intrude on their grieving process.
Having a dog just makes everybody feel better.
Now as the community can come together again, resources are becoming available at the local Ramada Hotel. Mental health professionals, chaplains, and Nico, the comfort dog, are volunteering their time to help residents process their feelings.
We're willing to do all sorts of things, but I think we're also have a hard time asking for help, and it is perfectly normal and it helps us get out of that isolation. It's actually one of the best things we can do.
Vanessa Mishania, Scripps News, Lewiston, Maine.
Some developing news now on the 2024 presidential race. Former Vice President Mike Pence dropping out of the race for the White House. Pence making the announcement during the Republican Jewish Coalition Summit in Las Vegas today. The former VP says he will continue to, quote, fight for conservative values, even though his campaign is ending.
I was raised to believe that to whom much is given, much will be required. And with everything our country is facing, I just couldn't sit this one out. But the Bible tells us that there's a time for every purpose under heaven. And traveling across the country over the past 6 months, I came here to say it's become clear to me, this is not my time.
Pence also called on President Biden to not deliver aid to Gaza until all hostages held by Hamas are freed. Pence also urging the president to, quote, end all talk of restraint and support Israel's right to self-defense unconditionally. The United Auto Workers expanding their strike against General Motors. The union announcing today that workers at GM's plant in Tennessee will walk off the job. The auto workers' strike began about 6 weeks ago against Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. It appeared the union was making progress with GM. Before Saturday's announcement, the UAW already has worked out a new contract with Ford, and there are reports it has reached a tentative deal with Stellantis.
Later in sports, both the Utes and Cougs facing top 10 opponents on Saturday. We're in both Austin and up on the hill. Could either one score a marquee win this afternoon in a busy, busy day of college football? Back in a bit. 24 hours after their first win of the season, the Jazz making their road debut tonight. Last night's hero, Jordan Clarkson, swooping in for the bucket in the first. But then the Suns took off. Drew Eubanks in the paint. Who's he? Pivots and schools Walker Kessler. Phoenix up 16 at the half, only to really break it open in the third. Kevin Durant, the only member of that new Big Three in action tonight, but they didn't need Devin Booker or Bradley Beal. The Jazz just getting crushed right now in the third. Big day of college football with both the Utes and Cougars facing marquee opponents. We'll get to BYU in a sec, but first the Pac-12 showdown. Game day was in Salt Lake to kick it all off, and Utah fully aware how good Ducks QB Bo Nix was, but perhaps they feel he's even better than advertised now. Call it 8 versus 13 with both squads 6-1 coming in. The 54,000 on hand watching Nix march 7 plays on the Ducks opening drive, 7-0, and we haven't even played 3 minutes yet. Utah's defense making a play. Junior Tafuna, not only the tackle, but strips that potato away from Bucky Irving in the process. Red getting 3 out of that turnover. Only to watch Oregon tack on 7 more. Nix due north for Jordan James. Bryson Barnes, the hero last week at SC, not so much with the Magic this afternoon. First of 2 picks by Tysheem Johnson, leading to another road team score. Nixon pressure hits Troy Franklin on the slide. Half 2, no better for Utah. Irving trots in diagonally, then same quarter, Trayshawn Holden after the backwards pass. Nix next to perfect to humble the Utes and snap that 18-game home win streak, 35-6.
Not a lot of positives in that game for us. That's as thoroughly and as soundly as we've been beaten in a long time. Particularly at home here. Give Oregon credit. They are a complete football team, just like I've been saying all week long. Tremendous talent, size, quickness, athleticism, depth, both sides of the ball. And they took it to us.
With Texas's time in the Big 12 running out, BYU knew they'd only get one shot at the Longhorns as conference foes. The Cougars 4-1 all-time against the Burnt Orange, but this time felt different with former BYU QB Steve Sarkisian at the helm in Austin. Texas ranked number 7, watching their special teams make a play to set the tone. Remember back in week 3, this happened at Arkansas. The Cougs managed to win that one regardless. Xavier Worthy right here saw the space well and advanced untouched on the 74-yard punt return to lift Texas out in front. Brigham Young facing opposite a quarterback making their first career start in the state of Texas for the second time in 3 weeks. The Utah State transfer Crew Wakely picks Malik Murphy there. They brought some yards back though after an illegal block, and then Keaton Slovis gifts the football right back. First of 3 turnovers by Slovis. Gavin Holmes with room after the interception. Texas turning that into points. Jonathan Brooks, too much steam coming through. 14-0 UT after 1. Then Murphy filling in for the injured Quinn Ewers hits Adonai Mitchell over top Blue secondary. BYU still in it in the 4th here. INT number 2 forthcoming from Slovis, though, leading to another Texas touchdown. Mitchell again from Murphy. Oddly, this one had an identical final to the Utah score, 35-6, dropping the Cougars back to 5-3. Southern Utah today recorded their most lopsided win over an FCS opponent in 8 years. Justin Miller and Tarji Lamson break the 7-all tie against Abilene Christian. Then it was just go time from there. Lamson pops out of that scrum, the Spanish Fort kid, a career-high 3 touchdowns. SUU outscoring the Wildcats 24-0 in the second half to win by 38. Utah Tech also at home, incoming Eastern Kentucky up 28-16 in the third. Parker McKinney meets Jaden Smith, but the Trailblazers get within a point to start the fourth. Kobe Tracy leads Keith Davis far pylon there, 18-yard TD reception. Needed another one at the end though, but never got it as Tech falls 34-30. Yeah, tough day for a lot of teams here in the state of Utah, other than Southern Utah.
Oh, thank you, Morgan. Thanks for watching. Quick Cast coming up next.